This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. This episode of the Glassblower's Companion is brought to you by the Glass Vegas Expo. Glass Vegas brings together some of the greatest glass artists and industry vendors all under the same roof with a respectable and heartwarming vibe unlike any other functional glass art show out there. With opportunities for artists to sign up for educational seminars, glass competitions, and trades, offering more time to mingle and to share the love of a common interest. Glass Vegas Expo is being held this year, February 7th through the 9th at the Bally's Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada. Stay tuned to their website, glass.vegas, for up-to-date COVID-19 protocols, and follow them on Instagram at Glass Vegas Expo. That's at Glass Vegas Expo, all one word. This episode is also brought to you by the Orlando Glass Union. Whether you're a traveling artist or love to take classes, the Orlando Glass Union offers a clean, comfortable space with benches to rent and space for classes, which are generally offered on a monthly basis. For more information on available space, classes to sign up for, and much more, go to orlandoglassunion.com. That's orlandoglassunion.com. Hey, what's happening? Welcome to a Glassblower's Companion, episode number 28. This is your host, Jason Michael, and thanks so much for tuning in today. It's been a month of Sunday since I have recorded. I apologize for the delays. I have been pretty focused behind the scenes on lots of projects, mainly around making glass stuff in the studio. I've been renting space over at the Orlando Glass Union for like the last 6 months or so, and have refound my passion and love for making pipes. And because of that, I'm going to Las Vegas this year, which I'm happy to announce. I'll be over in booth A426 for those that are going to be there. If you're a smoke shop and you're going to be there, I'd love to have you stop by and visit and maybe put some stuff in your store. It would be pretty rad. But I'm super excited for this opportunity, working with Glass Vegas this year also, which I'll get into in a second. But it's my first time going to a trade show. And for those that have been listening to the show for quite some time, know that I've mentioned over the years I've wanted to go to a trade show, specifically to Las Vegas. And this year I'm actually going to be there. So if you're somebody listening to this and you're a glass blower, you're going to be there, let me know. Send me a message on Instagram or what have you. It would be cool to meet up. And I'm going to have open spots also in times for doing some recording while I'm there, whether it's covering vendors that are in the industry or pipe makers, what have you. So I'm excited to get to see people and hug babies and kiss hands, or however you want to call it. And also it's going to be potentially a game changer for myself. Not going to put the cart before the horse, but potentially this is going to change a lot as far as my work schedule goes. And I'm just going to leave it at that because I'm not going to say put the cart before the horse. I want to definitely fill you in after Glass Vegas on how it went. With that being said, I'm also, this coming week, going to be doing some video recording on the process that I've been going through, as well as the anxiety and the stress going on behind the scenes with myself as I'm preparing with my wife and a little team I have around me, helping me prepare and get ready for the show to make sure that it is successful for us for our first trade show. Just I wouldn't be able to do this without them, and I'm very grateful. And between them putting up with my lack of patience with some things, and also just having little bursts of freaking out about stuff. So it's been an interesting moments and times here. But I'm going to be doing some video recording and sharing just some of the stuff that I've done, some brain dumps and things that allowed me to really focus on and figure out a game plan for this show. So I'm excited to share that. If you have not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, you can find it on YouTube. It's just look for Wise Guy TV. I know in the past I talked about getting the Wise Guy TV rolling, and depending on how things go at Las Vegas, I will potentially have more time on my hands to focus on that, as well as this podcast and everything else out there. So, again, stay tuned for more updates. That way I don't jump the gun and jinx myself. Speaking of the Glass Vegas Expo, myself and Mike Shelbo are going to be co-hosting a small event during their educational seminars that Glass Vegas holds every year. This one is called Glass of 2022, an afternoon with Scott Deppy of Mothership. And Mike and I are going to be asking all kind of questions and interviewing Scott Deppy about his background, his personal life, and what got him into glass, and how he was able to grow Mothership into what it is today. That's going to be held Monday, February 7th from 3:30 to 5, and then there will be a meet and greet held from 5 to 6. And it's in the Bally's Hotel Palace meeting room across from the Glass Vegas registration. If you're not familiar with the space, you can go to glass.vegas for more information on this. So definitely excited to have an opportunity to, I guess, do what I do with the educational stuff and also the interviewing. It's just a pretty sweet opportunity. I'm very excited about it. And also just excited to go into Vegas in general. Never been to Vegas. Haven't actually been west of Colorado. So my wife and I are having our first trip together to Vegas, kind of a late anniversary trip for us as well. And we're going to get some disc golf in on, we fly in on the 5th. Late on the 6th, we have a day of disc golf. And then the 7th, 8th, and 9th, I'll be slinging glass. And not going to be partying too much there. I know there's a lot of after parties and shows and things that are happening. I'm going to be social during the trade shows itself, during the times. But I'm not going to be getting out too much because I definitely want to kind of have this trip be a little bit more conservative for myself, just because I want to be super focused on my sales, but also because I want to just make sure that I'm on my game, like the top of my game as possible. And with all that being said, today's guest is Ginger Ames. She is a financial life planner and has had her toe in the glass pipe industry for quite some time. She shares her journey and her story on how she became a glass artist, also her background in ceramics and some other fun projects that she's done that were quite successful. But she is a third-generation CPA, and because of her background in art and also their background as a CPA, she really wanted to focus on helping the creative out, specifically the pipe makers in the industry. I know a lot of us out there that have the ability to make a ton of money, but don't always work smart with it. And as a financial life planner, she really will help work you through everything you have currently, what you're bringing in, etc., goals and mindsets, and then help plan for the future. But also talks about, which you'll hear actually in this talk, she asked me some specific questions, which were things I've never shared before. But she will dig down deep and find out kind of some background on your history of your financial mindset. And then through all the things that you talk about, she will then help you put a plan of attack ahead of yourself. That way you're setting yourself up for retirement. You can get yourself health insurance, all those things that you need to be able to live a long, healthy life and also do what you do for a living for as long as you possibly can. Until one day you decide you want to take a break and retire, and then you'll have several $1 million in a Roth IRA or some kind of retirement plan somewhere that allows you to retire and have a nice life and healthy life and travel and see the world and live your dreams that you've always wanted to live. And other than that, I don't want to ramble on too much. I just want to give you some insights and fill you in on what has been going on. Definitely stay tuned to my Instagram. My personal Instagram is @jmichaelglass. I am currently really trying to stay on top of all my posting and using all my posts to my advantage by posting a reel every single day, which, from what I'm understanding with the algorithms, the way Instagram is working, I'm actually getting a ton more likes and follows and views and actual interactions with my Instagram page than I ever have before. Whether it's a picture or a video, you can just throw a picture up on a reel for freaking 30 seconds and just have some music playing behind it that's like the most popular song that's being trending right now or whatever. And then you can get people to start looking at your shit if you'd have issues with that. Something I've been experimenting with. But lately I've been posting some tutorial stuff and how-tos and things I do over at the Mouse House. And I'm going to be posting more of that, but also full-length videos on our YouTube channel. Again, you can follow me over there on YouTube. Come subscribe, please. I need to get my first 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. That way I can go live. And the live streaming is what I really want to do because it's going to allow me to live stream demonstrations and classes and stuff like that for free for you all. Also, if you want to have a more in-depth personal conversation with myself, relationship sense, as well as our community we have over on Patreon, you can follow me over there as well at patreon.com/wiseguyvg. Media, I think it is. I'm not 100%. I can't remember if I changed it or not. But you can definitely use the link in the show notes. That will take you there. And for as little as $1 a month, you can join the community, help support this podcast, and help it grow, because I am going to be in the market very soon for an upgrade in all of my equipment. And it's going to cost a ton of money to do that. But I'm doing it because I want to create high-quality content that sounds great, looks great, and is clear and concise, so you learn better. Also, I'm going to be offering some classes at the Orlando Glass Union. We've just been going through a full major rehab in the studio with new ventilation getting added in, and some new bench spaces as well. So now the studio has 2 large hexagon bench tops for students to work on, and then in between the 2, there is a central table bench for the teacher. And I'm going to be, I've been teasing lately, but I'm going to be starting a class series called How to Sculpt Like an Animator. I really want to teach fundamentals of sculpting, but also how to take a 2-dimensional sketch that I'm going to do some real basic lessons in drawing and turn that into a 3-dimensional piece of art in glass, but also make your glass look like it actually has movement to it and animation, and not just like a static, stiff-looking piece of work. If you have basic fundamentals in glass, that's all you need. I'm going to be offering some really basic beginner classes, but this course specifically is more of an intermediate to advanced class. But I find that a lot of artists out there right now in the pipe industry are hungry for learning how to sculpt. Sculpting solid work as well. And I teach and preach on here all the time that your best bet to be successful as a glassblower is to not be a one-trick pony and to actually understand the material. That way you can create whatever the hell it is you want to create. So, yeah, there you go. And I really hope you enjoy this episode with Ginger Ames. If you have any questions for her or would like to jump on her free calls on Thursdays, you can sign up at whisperfinancial.sh. I will have the link in the show notes for you. I definitely recommend taking full advantage of the free stuff she is offering. And if you have any questions, again, reach out to her. Hope to see you guys in Las Vegas. Love you so much. Thanks for tuning in and staying in touch with me, as I have been super busy behind the scenes, and we officially have another episode out. So here we go, episode number 28, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Hey, Ginger, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. So glad to have you on. We've definitely had some appointments scheduled in the past, and I had things happening and all kind of shit that, I can come up with any excuse, but I'm just going to say we're in the middle of a pandemic, so everything is, okay, I guess, if we don't make appointments when we're supposed to.
Yeah, God, right? Yeah, the whole Omicron thing.
Jesus Christ.
Every time I hear Omicron, I can't help but think of Futurama and like the one Omicron Persei 8.
Yep, we were
Like
all on the same
time.
page. Yeah, absolutely. At first I was like, oh, is this like some new Transformer coming in to like take over the Earth? But yeah, then the Futurama reference came up, and I was like, oh yes, that's perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, every time.
Yeah, so to keep us
It's
on.
all good though. It was the holidays, we all
Yeah.
get busy, lots happen. So yeah, I'm just glad we're getting together finally.
Yeah, and it's 2022. Can you believe that? Good God.
Fuck, man. Jesus.
Yeah.
When did this all start? It's like been a blur.
I
The
know.
last couple of years has just been like an utter blur.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know, it's insane. End of 2019 is when this all began. So.
Damn.
Yeah. But
Okay.
but
Well,
that being
here we
said,
are.
yeah.
We survived.
Yeah. And it's been since July since I recorded, since I had Salt on last, so I'm excited to get this rolling again.
Oh.
And 2022, my real focus is going back to, like we talked pre-show, is really focusing on business and the mindset, because I know a lot of artists right now are finding a lot more success than they have in the past, and now they have more money, and they need to know what to do with that money besides just buying bags of weed and whatever
Buying
else.
bags of weed or just like all the little toys. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
Lifestyle creep is what that's called.
yeah, I can see that. That makes total sense. So we're going to eventually get there, but before we do, I'd like to get you started by giving us your superhero origin story and how you were introduced to glass in general.
Well, there are a few points where glass made its presence known in my life. The first time was when I was like 9 years old, and we were going camping all up and down the Oregon coast, and we were hanging out in this one town. I think it was Bandon by the sea, and just like checking out the shops. And one of the shops just had one of the like traditional glass blowers with the glory hole and everything, just like behind this huge glass and like this window, and you can watch him working, and he was just blasting jazz. His hair was just like blown black back, and he just looked so cool and like so in it. I was just like blown away when I was like just a little kid. Like, I can't believe somebody's doing this. And then in high school, unfortunately, my school did not have a glass blowing program, but some of the local other schools did. So I did stained glass instead. And that was like my high school thesis, was like a Tiffany reproduction lamp. So
neat.
I felt very strongly about the whole like crafting thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. We actually here in Orlando, we have signal being weird. Oh, and that being said, just on a side note, if
a little bit,
if by chance like we get cut off or whatever, I think the link will just bring us right back into the same meeting page. I think that's how Zoom works.
Cool. Works for me.
Okay, cool.
But the thing is though, like, you dude, like I got an Asian mom, and she's like, you're gonna be a doctor or a lawyer, right? Like that was just drilled into my head since I was a kid. And I I always assumed that I would go to college and then beyond that, continue my schooling. That was just like a given. That was going to be my life trajectory. Even so, like, I have this strong creative side, and it comes from both sides of my family. So I don't know what the hell they were talking about. So it comes from both sides of my family. And like in college, I became a little bit of a party girl. All right, statute of limitations. We're all good here. That was a long time ago. I'm old as shit now, in my eyes. Probably younger than you, sorry, but still.
Well, I'm 45, so.
Yeah, I was friends with a lot of. Okay, so you're old as shit. All right, there we go.
Yep.
I had a lot of friends who were chemists, and they wanted to do some fun stuff, but they didn't have the glassware. And I was like, well, maybe I can make it. I don't know where that idea popped into my head that I could do the glassware part, but like, yeah, I was like, all right, let me see what I can do. So I tried to get apprenticeships at like all these different like scientific shops, even like the university glassblower. That was a cool old dude going into his shop and watching him fuck around with stuff. Eventually though, I couldn't find a spot, and this was in the early 2000s. Okay. So I went on eBay and I found 2 VHS tapes, Secrets to Making Glass Pipes, Part 1 and 2. I think there's a copy of these in the Corning Museum.
Interesting.
Like I tried to find them again, and they're like, yeah, no, they're kept in the archives of the Corning Glass Museum. Yeah, I eventually found a person who was teaching how to make glass pipes down in Santa Cruz. Took the class and then just kind of set up my own shit from there. It was on like a major minor, not even a Red Max. It was just the major minor.
Heck yeah.
Just set up on a folding table in the backyard of my co-op, and like I couldn't see the damn flame because of the sun, so the wind would blow and it'd be like, ah, shit, it's burning me. But
I've been there. Isn't it crazy when you're blowing glass in the sun like that? It's like you're blowing glass blind. It's incredible.
Dude, right? And I made turds. I made just all sorts of like fucked up little shit, right? And just throwing them in the bucket of vermiculite and seeing what comes out and doesn't crack, Like, yeah, super old school. But I passed around a lot of different pipes around that co-op, and we never did anything like scientific wise. That never happened. Oh well.
It's interesting though, having that spark and that spark in the thought, and then all of a sudden, you took action, which is what's important.
Man, that's just like story of my life. I just do things, and that's kind of what happened with glass becoming professional at it. Like, I didn't take it seriously. It was just my hobby for like several years, and then like in 2008, I had like a mid-20s life crisis because we do these kinds of things. Right?
Yeah, you're a quarter century old,
and I went to Burning Man. I'm a quarter century. Oh my God, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
As if there's not so much more going on like that you'll go through in your life. But yeah, I went to Burning Man for the first time for the honeymoon, and I was just super inspired. And then I discovered an apprenticeship with the notorious Revere Glass when I got back, and yeah, went full time after that, and just kind of took off.
Interesting, hell yeah. Yeah. Dustin's a great
So
teacher.
sorry for the long story, but yeah, that's the whole thing.
Oh no, it's all good. How long did you work with Dustin?
God, I don't think much more than like 5 months
Yeah.
actually. Like at the end of 5 months, he brought in, oh, what's the dude's name? His handle was Mad City from Toke City. He came in to the shop sometime, and he ran the magazine Glass Aficionado,
Okay.
and he saw one of the Shirleys that I had made, and I guess he was like a big Shirley's fan, and we were doing line work, just wigwags, and he really liked it, and he's like, "What you want for it?" And I was just like, "Put it in the magazine." Put it in the magazine, dude. That's payment. That's all you gotta do. And then I just took off from there.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's funny, man. You just never know like who you're gonna run into or what course that's gonna take you.
Yeah. Yush came to the shop a few times, and he was just so fantastic, such a sweetie. And we got to learn from him a little bit, here and there, like to tighten up like what we had learned from Dustin and Dave, but Dave Strobel. So yeah, that was a good time. That was a really cool time. I left, and then I think a few months after that, it all kind of fell apart. The whole apprenticeship thing they had going on, but I'm glad I caught the wave.
Yeah, for sure. Was that after Operation Pipe Dreams? I'm thinking.
Oh yeah.
Right, time wise.
Oh yeah.
That was way after.
Uh-huh. Yeah, way after. God, Operation Pipe Dreams. Of course I start to get into it things after like they're like persecuted. But that's just story of my life.
Yeah.
I get into whatever other people walk away from.
Pick up the pieces and put them all back together and start it all over again.
I know, right? Right.
Yeah, that's what a lot of us had to do.
That was a really fun time back in Revere. I'm just thinking about that. That's where Punny and I met. Because he started up the apprenticeship there too, and then oh gosh, there were a couple other folks that came out of that. And then for a brief hot minute, after I set up my own shop, like Phil Siegel pulled through a little bit, and yeah, it's hard to remember all the names, to be honest.
Oh, I know. There's so many. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting too the way Dustin did that and then started his YouTube stuff, and Degeneration Art inspired a whole generation of glassblowers, but also Dustin Revere did too. And there's like this generation that I consider to be like the Revere glassblowers, like his understudies that he doesn't even know exist necessarily, but they just caught on to us watching his videos on YouTube.
That's true. That's super true. That's so crazy to me that you can learn glassblowing just like turning on a YouTube or something now, because it was just so fucking hard to find anybody to teach you back in the day. It was just like closed doors, like it's who you knew and who knew who would be able to get you in to learn something, maybe if they were being honest about how they were teaching you. And yeah,
it was definitely
so closeted back.
Oh yeah, big time. Like I'll never forget walking into this guy's studio, and he was getting ready to go on break anyways, but I walked in there and I started talking glass and stuff, and he's like, "You a glass blower?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he covered his bench with a big sheet, so I couldn't even see his setup or anything. And he's like, "Yeah, man, I'm going on break."
Oh, nice to meet you. Oh,
yeah.
No, access denied.
Or if they were, like a hot shop furnace worker, they were like, "Oh, so you make pipes?" And at the time, I wasn't. I was making pendants and stuff, working the Renaissance Festival circuit, But my goal was pipes eventually. But it's just funny how the times were back then compared to where now. Like the hot shop guys are like, "Oh, we want to get on that torch. We're jealous." It's
oh, are they now?
It's funny.
That's
It's interesting. It's a back and forth kind of thing. It seems like.
Well, I think the part of it is that like glassblowers, like we really enjoy our craft and they're fascinated by it, and there's just so much to learn within the art of glass that like if you have any amount of curiosity in your life, to be exposed to another technique is just like it's kind of like a hunger almost to like try that out as well. Especially as the pipe movement gets more legitimacy. More and more people are like, maybe I will check it out.
Yeah, especially now with like the classes that are being taught at Corning, for pipe making. It's crazy.
Ah, badass.
Yeah, it's
super
amazing.
Badass.
Yeah, it's amazing. So from that point, you got through your glass, and then eventually adopted a cat. That then became a huge transition for you in life. I guess is what it seems like.
Yeah. We got the cat. did I blow glass before that? Yes, I was blowing glass before we got the cat. And it was still a hobby for me. Um, until Revere. So he was with me while it was still a hobby, still setting up like a folding table in the backyard. Um, I don't know. I was just the craziest cat lady, man. So like I would make all sorts of like cat stuff. And eventually the gravy boat came out of that. It was never meant to be what it became. It was just going to be a joke. Like somebody had a post about like a gravy boat shaped like a squirrel that was puking. And I was like, well, obviously that's wrong because like when you think of a puking animal, you think of the damn cat puking in your shoes, puking on your computer, whatever. That's what they do,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, made a puking cat. And then like, my goodness, that just like took off. That was crazy. Yeah, that was a good transition in my life, I gotta say, because that was a time when I had to step away from glass. Just like, I don't know, something about the scene burnt me out. It was crazy, and I had to step away. That's why I like left from like, what was that, 2013 till just this last year.
Huh. Wow.
I was out. I cut it off completely, like clean break. Don't even want to look at anything. Don't want to hear about it. Just got to do something else with my life. I don't know. That was just a weird period in my life, man. And getting so involved in the scene as I was, I don't know. I don't think I was approaching it in a healthy way, and ended up burning out. But that's where the puking cat came through and was able to help me like financially make that transition away from glassblowing to figuring out what the fuck I was going to do with myself.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that too about getting burnt out because that was my time period where I began to get burnt out because I had just started working at Disney and I was also trying to like balance my side hustle with my glass pipes and stuff. I had a wholesaler I was still selling to, so I would get up at 5 a.m., turn my kiln on, get my shit ready for work, and then I would work for like 2 hours on the torch and then get in my car, drive an hour and a half to work a full 8-hour shift, drive an hour and a half home. And on the way home, call my ex-wife, my wife at the time, like, hey, can you turn the kiln on for me? And then she'd turn it on and I get home and work a couple more hours. And I did that for like 6 months. And it got to a point where I was like falling asleep on the way home driving and not remembering my drives, you know? And so I was like, all right, I got to take a break. And then I took a break from Disney.
Got to dial that back.
Yeah, totally.
From Disney.
Yeah, so I decided because the glass was still in demand, you know, and I knew the numbers were there. So I'd open up my own little studio space and started renting out the space. And then my entire life went to shit because I was just juggling too much. But also at the same time, even though I was seasonal, quote unquote, over at the Mouse House, I was still having to cover one of our artists who was making this castle for the museum in Shanghai. And they were celebrating like their 50th anniversary for this large glass museum in Shanghai. And he made the biggest glass castle ever made doing the stitch work. And it's an amazing piece. But
holy shit.
Yeah, it took him 5 months to make this thing. So I was covering him for 5 months. So I was working full time there, working full time at my studio, trying to balance everything out. And we just closed the doors and went through a divorce and moved to Orlando. So it's like,
oh shit.
Yeah, literally it all went to shit.
Yeah, that's some big life transitions.
Yeah. And then I took 2 years off making pipes. It was crazy. I took off 2 years making pipes, just completely to reset my brain from like, I don't need to do production stuff anymore, you know, like everything. Also heal my heart because you know, when you're away from a situation, you don't realize how things were when you're in it compared to when you're outside of it, you know?
Yeah.
So it gave me that.
Yeah, it's like driving through a fog bank, man. You can see the outside of it and the other side of it, but when you're in it, then it never ends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was able to get that clarity and then really find directions in life and where do I want to go and blah, blah, blah. So here we are. So at the same time, though, I was watching the industry grow and get crazy and people were selling pieces for hundreds of thousands of dollars where I'm sitting here at, you know, entertaining guests at the Magic Kingdom or whatever. And I'm like, damn, I would love that kind of money because I know I could make that kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. But I just kept my blinders on and watched it from afar while still doing this podcast and trying to help those that were finding that success continue to find the success and then inspire others to also find that. So it's
So you didn't cut yourself off completely. You did the podcast and you were still kind of watching things to see how things were coming along.
Yeah.
Like standing outside the culture still a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And tapped into it, but really coming from a perspective as an artist, not really necessarily as a pipe maker, you know, just because of how the glass scene
is kind of feeding your creativity more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I found like the podcast was a good outlet for that. But also because I'm in Florida, it's hard for me to get out of here to go to shows and intermingle with people. So
Oh
this is
yeah.
my way to introduce myself to the world and also get to talk to artists at the same time while not being burnt out from blowing glass 80 hours a week, you know.
Well, I see something super important in what you're doing here, dude. You're just kind of like recording this movement and the culture of it. And there isn't any other like voice recording or discussion about it really, other than like the other podcasts that are like out there. There's just like some magazines and then just like, I don't know, maybe just some videos or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. But you've been doing this for so long. It's just a fantastic like snapshot of how the culture is coming along in all these little interviews that you're doing. It's really admirable work, dude.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, and that's been the main driving force for me. That's just being like a because like for my family. Just on a whole side note, my grandfather was like our genealogy person before the internet was a big thing. He used to go to Europe every year and like do research and like just we've gone back several generations now. We know of from our family's existence. Like my last name I know means wood castle. My last name is Borgholzer, but like it's a French German mix, but it means wood castle. And I guess my family built castles in France back in the day, before they came
Oh,
came to the
cool.
States. Yeah,
All right.
it's wild. So, but once he passed away, I became the family historian, and I've always enjoyed doing research and stuff. So it was just kind of natural for me to just kind of go on my little path
To
within this.
fulfill that role for the glass pipe movement.
Yeah, yeah. So it's been tough, but I've been keeping it going. And like I said, this year is really business is the big talk because I think really people really need to wake the fuck up and understand that even if they're 20 years old or 25 doing this, they're going to get old and they're going to need retirement and have to pay for bills and not live off the government Social Security that probably won't exist in 50 years from now. you know.
Dude, seriously. Like, yeah, I feel like when I was really getting involved with scene back in the day, like I feel that it reminded me almost of like a college scene where everybody was just having fun and just like fucking off and not really like thinking too hard about what their future was going to look like. And now coming back into it at like the tail end of 2021, I see all these people, have grown up and matured, and they're like, wow, this shit matters. I kind of want stability in my life now.
Yeah. Everybody's getting married and having kids, and they're like, okay, I guess I do have to work a 9 to 5, but it's on my own time, so it's a different
Like,
mentality.
how the fuck do I get a mortgage for a house? Like that kind of bullshit.
Yeah,
Like, of
yeah,
course,
totally.
we're all wondering that, really, even with like stable jobs and all. So,
Yeah. Well, like even
goodness.
during the downtime when we were all locked down and the government was handing out money, like if you didn't have proof of income as a pay that you were paying federal taxes,
Yeah.
you weren't getting any money. So a lot of artists out there had to like sell all their shit to fucking eat,
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's just
totally.
it's so important.
Totally.
Like I've had a basic, I guess my own fictitious name and the sole proprietorship stuff as my business has over the years. But this year I'm officially getting my actually at the end of this week we're filing my LLC for the first time in 20 years.
Hey, congratulations, man. That's a big step.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. And my brother, who is like half my age, I was 16 when he was born. He's been in the glass industry for 9 years now, and he's taken this completely serious from day one, as including having an LLC and paying himself a paycheck. And he has an assistant that he pays a paycheck, and this person is paying taxes, and he's paying his taxes. And it's it's allowed him to take out business loans and really grow to a point to where he's found more success in the pipe industry than I found in the last 20 years. He's found it in the last 8. So it's interesting. But I've also different
you
generations.
start out early being organized, and then like that really translates well later on in your life. It just builds on itself once you have yourself organized like that.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. So that's why you had reached out to me about this, and that's why we're here to really talk about helping folks get their shit together, as I consider like the financial house of things. But
no, I hear it.
but yeah, but before we go down that path, I definitely want to cover heaters, because at the end of last year they had the heaters pipe show. That was in Colorado, right?
Yep,
Right.
Colorado. right just south of downtown Denver.
Yeah, so you attended and talked to some folks, and I'm interested in how the show went, the artists that were there, and some of the insights that you received
Mm-hmm.
while you were there.
The funny thing is like I had no idea that this show was like such a big deal when like I had just reconnected with Funny because I just happened to be in Denver like the month before. I was like, you know what? Let's see how that guy's doing. I remember he was like super chill, really nice, kind-hearted guy. Let's go ahead and say hello. It's been like forever. And he's like, oh, cool, so nice to see you and all that. Like, let's collab. I'm like, oh, that's nice of you. I haven't touched the torch in a while. I appreciate the thought. He's like, no, we're gonna collab. Like, oh, okay, cool. All right. Sure. He's like, yeah, I got a show coming up. Like, cool. What's it called? Heaters. Return to the Heaters. Like, huh. All right. Well, I'll look that up, see what that's about. It's just like, oh, okay. It's just like this huge goddamn event, with like all these big ass names. Yeah, super intimidating after I found out what it was all about. But
Yeah, I imagine so.
it was cool. Yeah, it was really nice to like see a lot of the old folks that I hadn't seen in a long time. I came up the week before Heaters to finish up the collab with Honey and had a lot of time on my hands. So we got to hang out like downstairs in his shop and upstairs at Everdream a little bit. It was a madhouse getting ready for the show. Like how like before any show, like you got your nose to the grindstone, you're burning the midnight oil, you're trying to crank it out. And it was like that for the build up to the show. The studio upstairs, Everdream, just like more and more people just started arriving and coming in to where it was just like crowded. Like I didn't want to be up there too much because I knew that like there was so many people that it would actually maybe get into like the elbow space of the artists while they were working.
Wow.
Right? Yeah, and then like Ubatuba had his show the night before, and a ton of people showed up for that as well. Um, it it was incredible actually just to see just how many people were there. Yeah, like a ton of collectors showed up beforehand, and as well as just like other glass artists and people who appreciate this kind of work. Um, and that I think that was indicative of the actual turnout for the show itself, because that line to get in the doors, it wrapped around the block and stayed that way for like 4 hours.
Unreal.
Dude, seriously. And inside it was just like packed to capacity, and I was like, we got to get more masks out.
Right.
Like this pandemic's not over yet, guys. We got to all wear these masks. So not everybody like felt that way, it seems, but it was incredible. The turnout was fantastic. Just like so many people coming through, and the work itself was just like spot on. It was, oh yeah. The coup de grace though was of course the King of Kings, right? I'm sure you've seen the pictures of that one by Buck and Adam G, their collab.
I honestly don't think I have. I gotta look this up right now. Yeah, I don't think I did.
Yeah, look that up, because that was beyond impressive. That was just like, what the fuck did you guys just do? Like, this is your masterpiece. And I guess they'd been working on it for 3 years back and forth.
Wow.
But it was like this 2 foot, 3 foot, I don't remember, tall and so wide bust of a lion with a crown and the full mane.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing it now.
And dude, articulating glass hoses coming out of it.
Wow.
The fuck, dude. Yeah, that was on like this like slowly rotating pedestal. It was pretty impressive. Really, really impressive. People brought their A game, and those guys just like just went for that extra credit. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like, it's so much fun to see the level of what's glass is being pushed to become, and 20 years ago, I mean, none of us imagined any of it. And then I started seeing like the Scott Deppies of the world coming out there, and like, where the fuck did this guy come from? And how is he doing what he's doing with this color that he's doing? Which is why I'm stoked for this Las Vegas show, to be able to like talk to him and ask him these questions. Because I know a lot of people are really curious about it, but really seeing like just the evolution of where this industry has gone to museum quality work that's being put in places like Corning, it's phenomenal. Yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And like pretty much as far as I can tell, pretty much everybody sold out at the show. And I'm not surprised because of the quality of the work that was there. The only gripe that I would have, to be honest, about the show is like the lack of representation of the female artists that are out there, because there are some like pretty fantastic ones. Why weren't they there? I don't know. I think I was like the only one who had any sort of presence doing a collab with Honey. With my like janky ass, haven't done them in 7 years, wigwags that he threw on this beautiful piece.
Hell yeah.
I can't believe he used it. Oh, what a sweetheart.
Did it sell?
Oh yeah, he actually decided to raffle it off. Despite the fact that he did some freaking amazing work and multiple spots, like 2 different spots where he did his work on the stem and actually the can of the piece, and raffled the fucking thing off. I can't believe it. And that dude was like hella stoked. The winner of that one was just like, oh, I can't believe I got this.
Heck yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, and I appreciate where his heart was coming from with that, and that's super cool. One of the things though, like I found really remarkable regarding the show was, and all the artists there, was like all of the wives and girlfriends and sisters, like all those ladies were the logistics. They took care of everything. This show would not have happened without all of those ladies like pulling all this shit together. I'm impressed. I'm just absolutely impressed by like the amount of work that went into all of that.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Not to mention,
I ended up talking to a lot of those.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, because I get concerned when I see these shows, because they have these little cases in the middle of the rooms all spread out, and you get all these people, and I'm like, someone's going to turn around the wrong way, or you see guys with backpacks on and stuff. I'm like,
oh god, I know, right? Like.
Yeah, it's like they're Pokemon trainers or something. But it's definitely interesting. So like you're saying, like seeing the logistics of how things are come together to make it a successful show, but also safe. In these times, it's pretty rad, and definitely takes the ladies that are supporting these guys to allow the guys not only to become the artists that they are, but also to be able to then put on these kind of shows.
Dude, yeah. And just like all the kind of work that goes into the preparation, getting things together, getting the artwork transported in and out, and just like the full on organization of everything and all those logistics, like the event management, like holy shit. Like these ladies are making all this happen. They're the powerhouse behind all of this art, really.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Super cool. I don't, it's interesting because like, you would think with COVID times that people like there might not have been too good of a turnout, especially because like Denver got like its first snow of the season like the day before. So it was like balls cold out. Holy shit, it was cold out there. Oh my God. I bet you would understand, like being somebody from Florida, I from California coming out there was just like, why are you like this out here?
Yeah.
But people still made it. I think there's just like this real craving to get out and then to see all this work, to see like how the A game was bringing it to the table. And super successful show. Super. I think it went like an hour or so longer than expected, just because there was still just like so many people like coming in and all. So.
Yeah, it's good to see. Because I know like Las Vegas last year, like they were, like everybody said it was like that I talked to sold out. I know there's some artists I did not, but I know pretty much everybody I talked to sold out, and it seems like everybody's just hungry to get out and socialize. And it's we're in this pandemic, fatigue in a sense, with everything, because like I wear my mask everywhere I go, but I'm still like, oh God, I gotta fucking put this thing back on my face, kind of thing. I'm just so over it. But hey, not everybody's on the same page as you and I are with, doing what you got to do to keep us all safe and get past this bullshit, unfortunately. But, it is what it is. Politics aside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's awesome to hear.
So, just need to get past it.
So as you're there seeing all these pieces selling and, for thousands and thousands of dollars, are you in the back of your brain thinking like, all right, so what do you get these guys doing with all this money? Are they gonna be smart with it?
I don't want to like offend anybody, right? But it's just like, what the fuck are you guys doing with this money? Like, holy shit. That is like the refrain that I heard from all these ladies too, talking to them, and like when I was describing the kind of stuff that I do, and they're like, oh my God, these guys need that kind of help. Like they really need to talk to somebody about like constantly just like spending all the cash they have. Like just buying toy after toy after toy. It's just like, okay, well, it's great that you can afford this, but what are you doing for future you? Like with like a couple years down the line, and you're just like, where'd all that money go? Like hopefully into an account somewhere making money for you. That's what we're all hoping for. Yeah, I was definitely wondering what the hell was going on. I know a lot of them are involved in like this real estate thing down in Costa Rica. So I think a lot of them were like paying in toward that and paying off their debts in that regard. But yeah, I was definitely wondering like, okay, now what? You're going to go out and buy a car or, another car?
Yeah, another Tesla or whatever.
Join your fleet.
Yeah, because like I've been doing this for 22 years now almost, and I've been dealing with hand pain for probably about 6 to 8 months now. I just had just some weird stuff going on in the base of my wrist, and I've seen an orthopedic surgeon, had things checked out. I had a weird cyst grow on my wrist when I was like in my early 20s, and it went away, but I guess I still have like some deposit debris that's in that area that I may have to have surgery one day to have it removed. Like it's just sitting here right now. It's been bothering me, and it's just from overworking it and blah blah blah. So I wear a brace when I sleep at night now, and it's just annoying. But like for myself, it wasn't a wake up call, but it kind of was like, hey, this is something that is potentially could have me not work glass anymore because of my I can't use my hand for certain things, and dealing with carpal tunnel, all kind of stuff that's potentially going to happen to people, and. So again, why I want to talk about this because it's so important to not only to have the insurance and things like that for yourself, but also to then think about 60 years down the road, like we So what kind of as a financial advisor on your end, focusing on artists in a sense and the creatives, like advice, getting started, you get your first big sale, you sell like $1,000 sale, which for some folks is a small sale, but for some of us out there, it's a big sale. So, so you get your first $1,000 sale. So then what do you do?
Well, that would be the category of a windfall. What happens when you get a windfall? And there's a lot of different ways you can approach with the windfall. I mean, at the very least, if what you want to do is to start saving for your retirement, is you want to save like 10% of all income that comes in. And after 25 years of that, like you'll be set for retirement, like just by the law of compounding, basically. So if you set aside that $100 out of your $1,000, then you got $900 left to mess around with. It depends what it is from there. Do you have like crippling credit card debt you got to deal with at like a 30% interest rate? Holy shit, pay that thing off like as best as you can. Do you have an emergency fund set aside for like when you break your arm and you can't work for a couple months? You want to have like at least 3 months of like money set aside, like 3 months expenses to cover your ass. So there's your emergency fund right there. So depending on how that and the debt, how that is all played out from there, like if you're running your own business, you could set up your own retirement account and then like actually be able to save some money and have it grow tax free. So that would be either like the easiest thing would be just a plain old IRA, like a investment retirement account or individual retirement account, or a solo 401k if you want to go that far. But the easy low hanging fruit would be an IRA to throw that money into, and then of course have some fun.
Of course.
You can't all just be like stoic and be like, I'm gonna sock everything away. You can't be like total ant versus grasshopper, right?
Yeah.
So have some fun. Just don't have fun with all of it. Just set some aside, and there you go. Get something. Go treat yourself. Okay.
Hell yeah. Today is treat yourself day.
That's right.
So, and with like the Roths and stuff, like you can pretty much walk into most banks and set those type of things up.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, you can set it up with a bank. I would probably set it up more with like a investment company. So like the three big names are going to be Schwab, Fidelity, and Vanguard, and they all have their pros and cons. And you can just do that online, same as how you open a bank account online. Just go in, fill out the information, and they'll set you up with an account. There you go.
And as far as like
throw some money in.
Because I know with the IRAs and stuff, like there's different advice. For myself, I have a Roth because I'm paying my taxes now. So when I pull the money out at retirement, there's no taxes because it can be a lot if you at the end. So I would assume you'd probably recommend the same type of thing, doing a Roth IRA, because like my 401k works the same way.
It depends actually on what exactly it is that you intend to do with your retirement money.
Okay.
For instance, the Roth IRA, like that is a super crazy powerful tool for generational wealth. So if you want to help get your kids set up, they can inherit that Roth IRA, and you never have to take out something called a minimum RMD, required minimum distribution. Those start at age 72, or is it 72 now? Oh, they changed it with one of the last tax acts that went through, but I think it's 72. But with a Roth IRA, you never have to take that out. You can just let that keep growing and pass it on to your kids. So if that's what you want to do, great. Or the other conventional wisdom is that if you want to do a traditional IRA, what the way to approach that tax-wise is if you are in a high tax bracket now, but you plan to be in a low one later when you retire, a traditional IRA would be better because you get better savings on your taxes. So it's a lot of different things. I love Roth IRAs. There's just like so much that you can do with them, and the fact that you can just like grow your money like crazy, fantastic. And then of course you got to go into like what kind of investments you're putting in there and how to do that in the most tax advantaged way. That gets a little bit into portfolio construction there and fun little strategies in that regard. But for the most part, I think I would say that like a Roth IRA would suit most people really well.
Yeah.
For the most part. Now the other thing is, like, if we're talking about people making $250,000 on a piece that's sold, you are above the limit for both an IRA and a Roth IRA.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they got right. That's where you tap into your 401k because you can make as much as you want and still put in that money in a 401k.
Okay, yeah, that's good advice because it definitely is where the industry is at right now. There definitely are people that are making that kind of money, whether it's buy one piece or going to a trade show and making $250,000 in sales in a day, type of thing.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And I find too, like generationally wise, a lot of the newer generations are investing into digital currencies, bitcoins, and what have you. I don't.
I actually just got my certificate in that.
Oh, nice. I haven't yet. I definitely want to, and I've kind of kicked myself for not at one point in time because I'm sure at some cash will no longer be a thing down the road, and things will be going digital, as most transactions are these days. So that is definitely one of those fluid ups and downs, roller coaster rides, like the stock market. That you just gotta ride and see if it works for you.
Right. Yeah, that's true. It does have like a fairly high volatility depending on like how you invest in cryptocurrencies. Like if you do direct coin holdings versus like investing in one of those like trusts, like Grayscale. There's different kinds of things that you can actually buy through your investment company that are already like vetted by the SEC and FINRA and all that. those are like the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, Grayscale such and such trust, and so on. There's a couple others in the game that just came through. Those are way less volatile than actual direct coin holdings. And they're a little step away from that. There's pros and cons, but that is one other option out there for exposure to digital assets.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, there are different ways to get exposed to digital assets if that's something that you want to add into your portfolio. And like, to be honest, the one thing that like gets financial advisors super interested in digital assets is the fact that it is like non-correlated. And I'll explain this later. It is non-correlated with any other asset class, which means when stocks go up, Bitcoin does its own thing. When bonds go up or down, Bitcoin does its own thing. International, this still does its own thing. And when you are able to put together different asset classes that don't move in lockstep, you end up having a really good reward for the amount of risk you're taking on. And that's called the efficient frontier, to actually maximize the amount of reward you get for any given amount of risk that you take. So financial advisors are super stoked about some financial advisors are super stoked about digital assets because they have this non-correlation and can really boost potentially the reward for the amount of risk taken on.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah. I think a lot of people though are fairly well, to be honest, a lot of people are really well served with just like a target date investment, like one of those, like, I'm going to retire when 2060 or whatever the hell it is, and just like leave it there and leave it the fuck alone.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you want to do. You want to set up your investments and leave it the fuck alone.
Yeah. Yeah, just to pretend it doesn't exist, and just because, like, you have money coming out of your account or whatever, on a regular basis, those automatic payments that you're making, you just forget about it. It's like people that pay their $10 a month for Netflix. You forget you're paying that every month, kind of thing. So just set it and forget it.
And you adjust to that. Your lifestyle adjusts to whatever you set it at. A lot of people like to call it pay yourself first. All right. You get that money, pay yourself, then pay your bills. Then you will learn your lifestyle will right size to what you give it. And I think that's the big problem with a lot of the artists that are just making like mad cash, is like, you gotta remember the days when you're eating ramen every day, trying to like sneak some sort of income to pay rent that month. You got to remember what it's like, and to hold on to some of it. Not so much that it fucks up your mental health, but like to hold on to some of it so that money socked away.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I've listened to a lot of Dave Ramsey over the years, and he always talked about like the whole like having the college mindset, like pretend you're still in college, and for like the first couple of years of you making that income, act like you're still in college, and that way you can pay your debts off faster instead of going and buying that new car and the new house and the new everything. Because and then you talk about backgrounds, and a lot of artists in our industry not only have like mental health things going on that don't allow them to think in a clear state of mind as far as like how do I do this, and they get overwhelmed, or the anxiety's there, and like for myself, like I've made a ton of money over the years, but I was never really smart with it early on. It took a while to figure that out, but,
yeah, same here. Like my dad set me up with a Roth IRA when I was like in high school, and what the fuck did I do? I was like, oh, I can't pay rent this month, let me just yank that money out and pay rent. Like, okay, that was a bad idea. The penalties, the taxes, all of that, and where I could have been now today if I didn't do that. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's amazing, right?
God damn it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just not taught. We're not taught how to deal with money properly, and like it becomes like this. In the same way that glassblowing was like very closed door, I feel like finance was like very much a very closed door kind of thing. Like to the point, like back in the day, like what did you think of as a financial advisor? It was somebody who would pick stocks for you, right? Like your stock picker, or the stockbroker, somebody who would help you just like buy a mutual fund or some BS like that. But nowadays, like there's so much out there where people are telling you like, these are the ways that you can organize your personal finance. we just need to get into the high school so that we can get in a little bit earlier for people rather than having to seek it out in their later years.
Yeah.
It's so much more simple too than like being lucky enough to pick the right stock. Like if you want to do better than like 90% of the like portfolio managers out there, you put your money in an index fund because that matches the market. 90% of like active managers out there are not going to beat the market, and they're going to charge you a fee on top of that. You want to do better than them? Put it in an index fund. You'll be fine. Slow and steady wins the race. That's like that's the whole like Warren Buffett thing and Jack Bogle thing, especially. If anybody wants to go down a fun little rabbit hole of portfolio construction for the lazy and Ann, there's a really fun forum called Bogleheads, and all these people talking about like, oh, don't pay for some advisor to tell you some bullshit. Just like do these things and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. So for the DIY person, that's the place to go.
Nice. Do you recommend like artists early on get themselves set up as like a sole proprietorship type of thing just to have that basic business license under them, or should they get into the LLCs so you can start doing like payroll and paying, federal income taxes and Social Security and stuff like that?
I mean, an LLC, what it does is it really helps afford you a level of liability protection. So if what you want to do is to protect yourself that way, you're going to want to do the LLC for sure. Now, if you want to do, and this is where it gets a little bit weird because like there's LLC can be taxed as either a sole proprietorship or as an S Corp. There are two different ways to go about doing an LLC. So you can have your sole proprietorship wrapped around an LLC basically, or you can have an S Corp wrapped in the LLC. So the S Corp is the one where you end up like paying yourself a salary and a wage, and you got to file like a special business tax form and all this other kind of stuff. That, for the most part, rule of thumb is going to matter once you hit about 100K in income. That's when it starts to become beneficial. Until then, you might as well just do an LLC wrapped up around a sole proprietorship.
Cool.
I come at things from a tax perspective because like I'm a third generation tax professional. I've got like my enrolled agent card. My dad was a CPA, and there was a CPA before that, and all that BS.
Nice. Yeah, the least taxes, the better. Because like I tell people all the time, like even if you're not an LLC, you can still set yourself up and put money away for like quarterly taxes, so you have like these estimates and stuff for yourself. So you're not paying a $50,000 tax bill at the end of the year.
Right. Exactly. That, and whether or not your LLC is taxed as a sole proprietorship or if it's taxed as an S Corp, you can still set up a solo 401k. You can totally do that either direction. And that's when you can really bang away those bucks because there's the so if it's S Corp specifically, there's the employee side of things where you can throw in like almost 20 grand or more depending on what age you are. But then there's also the profit sharing that your business will share with you. And that can go up to $56,000 like total. It combined with that other 20 you put in. There's a few caveats with that, like you got to make a certain amount in order to qualify for that full amount. But you could really sock away some crazy money tax advantage if you go that route.
Yeah,
the S Corp style.
And I'm glad you referred to like the entity, because for years on the show I've just kind of tried to just pound in people's heads the fact that you're the artist, but what you're creating for the business is not you. The entity that you're selling for is what you work for your business, so you need to pay yourself outside of your business. Your business needs to be its own thing that survives. And if you're just spending all your money, you don't have anything to call a business, which means that you're a hobby.
Right? Exactly. And if you do that for too many numbers of years, well, then the IRS comes a knocking and is like, so all those deductions you took, you ain't get those anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why I want to bring you on. And
I think there's...
Oh, go on. Go on.
Oh, well, there's just like a lot that people don't often cover when they think about their personal finances. Yes, there's your savings rate. Yes, there's how to pay down your debt. Yes, there's setting up your business structure and what you do with a windfall. But then, like what you were saying before, like you fucked up your wrist a bit and you're going to have to do some surgery on it sometime in the future. There's a couple ways that somebody can approach mitigating that kind of situation. You can either like make sure that you have set aside a certain amount of money to cover the cost. You can also set up an emergency fund for if it gets so bad you miss a couple months of work. Or this might be the harder one to do considering that this is a trade. That getting disability insurance, it's hella expensive, but like when you think about what your assets are in your life, like what's worth a lot, earning power is probably your biggest asset because that's what's going to keep the money coming in. And where is your earning power as a glass blower? It's in your hands.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to fuck up your hands. So what disability insurance does is it will cover your ass if you are so injured that you can no longer work.
Yeah. Yeah, my work offered that, and I didn't get it, but it's something I've thought about, like, like an Aflac, for instance, like they're one of the companies out there that has that type of stuff that, keeps your ass covered, like you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
while you're sitting on the couch recovering because you're out there skateboarding and you fucking try to do some tricks and broke your arm,
Right? Yeah, exactly. Like, yes, make your money. Yes, do these things right, but also protect it. Protect it from all the slings and arrows that life throws at you.
Yeah, it's like why the like opera singers and stuff, like they insure their throats and all kind of crazy stuff, for millions of dollars, it's just
Right?
because that's their thing. It's so important.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that's like a real eye opener, and for myself as well, like thinking about it, it's just like, holy shit, that's crazy. Like it could very well be that like the worth of all your future ability to work is like in the millions.
Mm-hmm.
It could be that, and that's an asset that you have.
Yeah, and it's all
So
literally in the palm
crazy.
of your hands. Yeah.
Literally.
That's amazing. And I know this kind of, for some people, this conversation, this type of talk is just kind of dry and mundane. I love this kind of stuff. I love talking business. I love talking, finances and the ways to go about it. I'm not
Dude,
an expert at
same
all.
here.
I've listened to, the Dave Ramseys of the world over the years and like learned certain, things that I've been able to pass on. But yeah, having you on as a actual professional advisor, I think is great. And that being said, if anybody's confused about this kind of stuff, and you reached out to me because you're have a passion for the pipe community itself and want to help the artists out there. So, and if anybody has any questions, I definitely will have your information in the show notes and in the links. And in the meantime, if you want to give us some information on how people can contact you and reach out to ask questions and maybe bring you on as an advisor.
Hey, that sounds good to me, man. Like, I actually plan to hold free office hours every Thursday. So anybody can bring whatever the hell question they want. Don't need to be intimidated. Like a lot of financial advisors, you got to pay money just to even talk to them. Like, fuck that. You got questions, I got answers. Come around on Thursdays, just sign up. I'll limit it to 4 people so that everybody's question can actually get answered. But, but yeah, feel free to come talk to me.
Okay,
And
what's the website?
The website is whisperfinancial.sh.
Yeah, I'll make sure I have that in the show notes for everybody. Because
Yeah.
might as well get this year started off
The
properly.
other half of my business is going to be doing taxes as well.
Okay.
I actually really enjoy doing taxes. I think it has something to do with the whole generational thing going on. Your mind has to be a certain kind of warped to really enjoy taxes, but
Yeah, my wife does
I guess
too.
it goes that way. Oh, there's one thing that I was thinking about, which I think is like one of the more important things when it comes to personal finance. And it's not so much the finance side of that, it's the personal side. Because you can learn whatever it is that you need to learn about money. All that information is out there and has been out there. There's Dave Ramsey, there's all this other stuff, right? But like actually following through and putting this shit into action, that's the hard part. to get yourself to actually just straight up do it. And that's the part that like I really like to dive into. Like I like call myself, and this is a whole new movement within the profession. I call myself a financial life planner because it's money is so much more than money. It's about what you want to do with your life and what you find valuable.
I agree completely.
Yeah. Yeah. So the human side of money is where I think a lot of people just kind of gloss over, whereas it's actually just like probably the most important part of financial education is learning about yourself and your relationship to money.
Yeah, I agree because I know for myself personally, like I grew up my single mom on welfare and food stamps, and so like she for Christmas time she would go to the local church and get toys, and so like if I had $20 in my pocket, I'd go down the street and fucking blow it on whatever because I'd never had any kind of background of how to take care of my money, but also because I had like this mindset that I wasn't going to have it again, so I just might as well use it now, And then I got older and was like the mentality of like, oh, I could die tomorrow, so I might as well just have fun today, bullshit. When the reality is that more than likely I'm not going to die tomorrow, and I'm probably going to live another 80 years, and
Yeah, but it's hard to overcome that. Like our money
totally.
attitudes, our beliefs, our perspectives, they're set by about age 7.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I had
what
this.
you were exposed to with your mom on welfare, living off of food stamps and such, like if that's what it was like for you before age 7, that stays with you the rest of your life.
Yeah, that scarcity mindset really was what was, something, and I didn't even know that was even a term or a thing until within probably like 5 or 6 years ago, I came across it. I was like, oh yeah, you know what? That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's why you would rather spend it rather than save it because you're more likely to be able to enjoy it now than later.
Yeah.
Like those kinds of like scripts that we say in our head that we say to ourselves regarding money.
Yeah.
So what would you say was your first money memory?
So I have been working literally since I was in kindergarten, and the lady that used to babysit me was actually my kindergarten teacher. Like during the summertime, she was our summertime nanny basically, and her son Dennis taught me how to mow grass, and he had a lawn service, and he would pay me $0.25 for every lawn. I mean, I'm like 6, 7 years old, pushing a lawnmower with him. And
Wow.
so early on, I was like making a couple bucks a day mowing grass, and it taught me work ethic on top of it, so which is why I still to this day I work as hard as I do, not for quarters anymore, but
One would hope.
Yeah, exactly. But so that was like early on, like mindset was that. I know eventually when I got into being, my actual job where I got a paycheck, I was 14, working at a nursing home, just helping with the kitchen stuff, and I was making some money. But again, if I made $500, I was like, oh, I can go buy this new stereo down the street, or whatever it was, because I grew up with a lot of friends that were not only wealthy, but they had everything they ever wanted. Like I didn't actually have my own game console until I was probably like in my 20s when I could actually afford to go buy one.
Oh, holy shit.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just because of the way my parents, if they were going to spend the money, it was on something other than that. There wasn't a priority for me to sit around and play video games.
Yeah.
So I'd go to my friends.
Yeah, it was survival.
Right. So I was influenced by my friends who had the money, that spent the money all the time. And then as I got into my 20s, it was the same way. Like friends that I had, I would see them making some sort of decent income, and then we'd go out and have these, really nice dinners. And then eventually we got into our early 30s, and those same friends became very wealthy within real estate right before the 2008 bubble crashed. So my buddy had a boat, and we'd go out for dinner on his boat, to these restaurants and be super swanky. And my mindset long term, that's what I want to be able to do. That I want to have that lifestyle. Like I like a posh lifestyle. I'm very simple. I could, sleep in my car if I have to, but I also, I work hard and I want to enjoy it. And long term wise, but seeing that influence around me still was like, well, I'm making pretty good money. I could spend my money the same way, but I also had kids at the same time, and they didn't, so I had to really change my mindset with that. And it took some time. It took really, I mean, like I said, probably about 10 years ago to really stop and say, okay, time to get my shit together and grow up. And even now, here I am,
Right.
45. I'm still, my wife she's very frugal, and then she met me and became the opposite, and I became frugal. It's so funny,
Oh.
right? So
So you kind of like opened up her to the idea of like spending a bit,
yeah,
and she like helped you become a little bit tighter with your money.
yeah. So it's a good balancing act in a sense, and it's
Yeah.
with that. So it definitely has helped me
Mm.
because I'm the scarcity mindset definitely isn't it still feels like it still wants to creep back in my brain, but at the same time
Mm.
I'm also like put my walls up, so like that's not coming back. I
Mm-hmm.
definitely have fulfilled many needs that I have through my business, but for a long time it was always like, well, I could just go make another pipe. I'll just go sell another pipe, And then my
Mm-hmm.
power bill would come
Right.
due, and I'm like, I'm not selling any pipes. What the fuck? And then my power just turned off. You know what I mean? And that's like the
Yeah.
worst thing you could
Yeah.
deal with as an artist. And that's things I talk about in the show is like, there's nothing worse than being a creative, standing at your torch, and you're freaking out because your fucking power bill is about to get shut off, and you're like scrambling to sell stuff, and then you end up underselling your work because you need that
Yep.
money, in the end. And it's just it's
Mm-hmm.
a, like the whole, I guess the snake biting its tail kind of mindset, where it's just like, just you just go in these
Mm-hmm.
circles and just chasing your tail over and over and over and over again, and you never get anywhere because of it, because you just keep selling yourself short because you keep saying this mentality of like, oh, I'll just go sell a couple more pipes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it's really easy to fall into that trap of just being like, oh, I could just like make some pipes and then make some more money. And then it doesn't like really kind of sink in that there should be some amount that gets put away also, so that you're not just making another pipe to make more money, to make another pipe to make more money, and
hmm
so on and so forth. Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like you've done a lot of work though on yourself to kind of like understand where you are coming from, like your money mindsets and what you want to do with yourself and your relationship with money.
Yeah, big time, absolutely. Yeah, like I've never been one to
Mm.
have credit cards, that kind of stuff. Like I've never really had debts per se, but I've also had my car repossessed
Mm.
twice because I just like, oh, I'll go sell some pipes and I'll make my car payment. And the next thing I know, I'm like 3 months behind and my car's getting towed at fucking 6 o'clock in the morning, and I go outside and have no car to get to work with, kind of bullshit.
Ugh.
You know,
Oh, Jesus.
yeah, it's
That's some
stupid.
bullshit.
Yeah, it's fucking, it's just
Hmm.
stupid. So, and I know that, like, for me, I'm the kind of person, like, I could teach you all kind of stuff, but I may not put that, like, my old me was, and I may not put that into action. Like with the business, my basic business model, which I've taught for a long time, that is the glass business is a very simple business to run. It's not very complicated.
Hmm.
You have minimal overhead.
Hmm.
So I take this,
Yeah.
this 100% number, and I break it into fourths, which is basically like a 30-30-10 type of thing, where it's like,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
30% you pay yourself, 30% goes to supplies to replace what you need to pay for your glass, and then 30% goes into savings to pay for whatever. And then you can take that 10% and you
Hmm.
put it in somewhere that you never touch as your emergency fund,
Yeah.
and you grow that, slowly. You can adjust your numbers
Hmm.
as needed, but it
Yeah.
works, and I just didn't put that into action. I taught it on this show for a long time, and I just never took it into action. So for me, going to Las
Mm.
Vegas next month is going to be a huge kind of launching point for myself as far as like
Oh,
that
yeah.
goes, because I'm going there for my first time ever doing a trade show, for one. So I'm going there to expect to make
Oh,
a ton of money.
this will be your first trade show.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, well, shit, man. That's exciting.
yeah. I'm stoked. So yeah, it's. I definitely feel like it's the next phase and chapter of my life as an artist is about to
Hmm.
that page is in front of me right now, and I'm excited for it because I know I'm going to go there and have success, and then come back with that success. And my wife and I are like, okay, so let's get some of your debts paid off, because she has her own little credit card
Hmm.
debts, and really take this seriously. And
Hmm.
I've never been a starving artist
Hmm.
per se, but
Mm.
I have been an
Mm.
artist that had his power turned off.
And his car repossessed a couple times.
Yeah, which is
A couple
stupid.
things.
Yeah, so. Yeah, eventually we all grow up,
What do you
but
think was the what do you think that was the triggering event that got you to be more aware of your money and how you react with it?
uh,
Was it having kids?
yeah. So I had I had a hearing to go to for a child support hearing for adjustments that we had made, And I was literally like 30
Mm.
seconds late because I went to the wrong courthouse. Like I read the paperwork wrong. So I went to clear across
Mm.
town and missed this court date. And it was, so I had a writ out, or whatever that's called, for a warrant for me to get arrested, right? Because I missed this fucking court date.
Oh my dear God.
Yeah, so I was so
Mm.
pissed.
Mm.
So that was really a eye-opening moment for me. Like I had cash put aside, and I was happy that I had it put aside, and I also had to go borrow a little bit of money on top of that to make sure that I was able to pay this when I was going to go to jail. Because if I paid this money, I wasn't going to go to jail. I'd just come right out immediately, which is what happened.
Mm.
But it was definitely, that was like
Mm-hmm.
the eye-opening, like, all right, this is fucking bullshit. You shouldn't be in this situation anymore, much less reading the paperwork wrong, the whole thing. So it just made me really just
Mm-hmm.
think like, I need to just slow it down and pay attention
Mm-hmm.
and take some shit seriously. Not everything in life is a fucking joke,
Yeah.
And then I quit
Yeah.
smoking pot for like a year and a half too, which really helped kind of get my mindset back into a good place.
Mm-hmm.
Clear that fog, as we talked about, literally.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, so and
It's
and
kind
I,
of interesting how those events happen in our lives.
yeah,
Like it's always something. Hmm.
yeah, and so I
It's
went.
like, go ahead.
So I met my wife at Disney. So it's her being a guest.
Oh.
So she, she was
Hmm.
in town visiting. So she's a huge nerd of the parks and stuff, and so am I. So if new things come out, she wants to rush off and go get it because I have this great discount. And me being the man and the relationships that loves to spoil my wife, I usually say, yeah, no problem. Like we had,
Hmm.
when we were reopened from COVID, we had 50% off merchandise, and it was off Dooney and Burke bags, like you name it. So we spent several $1,000s over like 2 weeks buying merchandise. We also bought Christmas presents
Oh my
and,
God.
other things like that. But it was like our big splurge. And I told her, like, this is our big splurge. And then from here on out, maybe here and there we'll get some stuff that we need. But, every once in a while I'll surprise her with something new. But it's, we both have definitely tightened the reins on, because it's easy.
Mhm.
It's easy just to go be like, oh, yeah,
Oh yeah. Then once the wallet's like cranked open, it just stays open for some reason, and it's
hmm
really hard to shut it back again.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. And I've never been one to have like need retail therapy, but
Hmm.
you know, with my wife,
But then you get into a habit, and yeah, and
yeah,
that's not a habit that you want to like have long term.
exactly. Like going to the drive-through of like Starbucks every day because you want your fucking whatever, because that's what you like to have every day,
Hmm. Right. Well, I don't know, like just those little things like that. Like a lot of people like to rail on like, why do you get a latte every day? It's like, well, you know what? I love this one way somebody put it. It's like, you know, if you replace your coffee in the morning with green tea, studies show that you can reduce by 98% all the fucking joy that you have in this life.
That's hilarious.
So you know what? If you need that latte for like that moment of zen for your mental health, that's money well spent. All
Agreed.
right,
Yep. And I do still do that. Absolutely. But I know for myself, because I'm a
that
very
avocado toast.
uh, I'm a very routine person. Like once my routine starts, it's like just a new thing. And then when something gets in the way of my routine, it takes like 2 weeks to get that routine going again. And for a long time, my routine coming into work was stop at the Dunkin' Donuts or the Starbucks and get a coffee on the way in.
Hmm.
And I was already spending
Hmm.
$600 a month in gas because of my commute. So it was like, adding that extra
Mm.
$50 a week on my $5 coffee I was getting. It was like, it definitely
Yeah,
it added up. But like you're saying,
yeah, that adds up.
once in a
That
while,
adds up.
do what you got to do.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, the real thing when it comes to like controlling your spending is just to make sure your money goes to what actually is important to you.
hmm
Um, like don't just spend money frivolously. Spend it on things that actually like bring you joy or at least cover your ass. Um,
Yep.
that bring you joy, that helps your mental health, that really like live into what really matters to you. So yeah, I'm definitely not a proponent of like cut everything that's fluff out of your budget. Like, no, no, that's how you not stick to a budget.
Yeah, I agree.
That's how you go all like, I hate this. I don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. not sustainable.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when I was back in the day, I dropped a bunch of weight and got myself in shape right before my divorce I had. And the guys that I worked out with, their mentality was like 70% of your daily intake should be healthy carbs and calories and fats and stuff. But the other 30%, have a Snickers, have whatever. But, don't make it the opposite. Don't have.
Give yourself that grace, man.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
And then you have your cheat days, but,
Exactly.
you got to have that kind of stuff because otherwise, for mental health, you just, you cut all the sugar out of your system, and the next thing you know, you're eating 4 pounds of sugar and a bag of fucking whatever.
Yeah, you got to watch out for those habits, and especially Doritos. You just got to watch out for the Doritos. Oh my God.
That's why I don't go grocery shopping, because I will buy those things.
Family size.
Yeah.
I have once in a while considered what would I do if I expanded this line of cat gravy boats that I have. But it just sounds like so much work. It was already just a ton of work getting that up and running and an automatic. That adding anything else in sounds really, sounds like a lot.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that goes with anything new.
Anyways.
Yeah, well, it's been fun chatting with you. I can sit here and talk your ear off all night. I actually got to get out there and get myself on the torch.
Okay,
And
sounds good,
begin
man.
my late night here in the studio. But before we let you go, if you want to give give us just a little bit of a parting piece of advice on anything really you want to give, whether it's on finances or just life in general, and then also where we can find you out there in the world of cyberspace.
Well, I would say that what has really helped me in making any decision that's a really big one, especially financial decisions. But if you're faced with a big decision, to just not let yourself go down that spiral of this, that, pros, cons, et cetera, to just stop and close your eyes and take a big, deep breath. And just feel your body. What does it feel like? How is it reacting? And let that inform your decision.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great advice. And then the cyberspace info.
Cyberspace info, let's see. I am at whisperfinancial.sh. I am on Instagram as Gingerella Glass. That's my old glass handle. And that's pretty much where you're going to find me out in the interwebs.
Okay.
Those two right there. Oh, well, that, and if you want a puking cat gravy boat, you can go on Amazon, look up the puking cat gravy boat, and it'll come right up there.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I'll have that link in the show notes for sure. And we'll be showing my wife.
Sure, man. Ah, nice.
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, before we, I'll do a little outro, then we'll say goodbyes off the air.
Cool.
So hang on one second. So I hope you all enjoyed this conversation, and thanks so much for everybody who has held on for the last 6 months, as I've not recorded or posted any episodes. It's definitely taken some time to get things rolling, but here we are, 2022. It's time to really think about getting your financial house in order if you have not yet ever done it, and definitely hit up Ginger. Take her free Thursdays, where she was saying you can call and get a hold of her. Take full advantage, and then if you get advice, then take her on as your advisor, because I know this is a new year for her, and she will be ready to take on all kind of new clients, especially us pipe makers who need all the help in the world with all kind of things. So,
True that.
Yeah. So that being said, thanks so much for tuning in. Take care of yourself, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace out. Bye-bye.